Eiron is an agility-based ranger class hero from the Wilder faction who specializes in AoE damage and control. And in this video, we're going to take a look at his skills and abilities, his uses and team compositions, and also whether it's worth spending your hard-earned resources on upgrading things like his signature item and furniture. So let's get into it. Starting off his abilities with his ultimate skill. Now this one, he's going to combine his two weapons, slash at his enemies, deal nice AoE damage with an ice tornado that comes from it. Now this ice tornado is going to go around the battlefield for 7 seconds, dealing AoE damage and also knocking back the enemies and slowing them. Twin Force is a two-stage attack where Eiron first swipes at his enemies with his ice blade, dealing AoE damage and slowing the enemies. Then he spears a single target with his wind blade and knocks them back, and also deals extra damage based on the enemy's current HP. Vortex is the ability that Eiron is most well known for, and with this ability, he's going to drag enemies from their side of the field over to him and group them up. Now as standard, if he's in the back mid position, he can normally grab the two front row enemies and the back mid enemy, but with certain synergies you can actually grab the whole enemy team, but we'll go further into that when we talk about team compositions. Sylvan Oath is a really nice ability for Eiron's damage. It gives him a passive attack rating increase, a passive chance to ignore defense of his enemies, and also increases his damage against shielded targets, which really does make him a powerhouse when you come to fighting things like Lucius. His signature item skill is called Chill. Now what this does, it gives his ultimate ability when it shoots out the ice vortex. That ice vortex can now freeze enemies. At base, it's a 2-second freeze. Also, as you upgrade this signature item at 10 and 20, it gives increased damage against frozen enemies, but then at level 30, it's going to actually freeze enemies for 4 seconds, doubling the base duration of that freeze, which is very strong control, along with some really nice damage that comes from it. Eiron's furniture, Oathkeeper, further extends on his Sylvan Oath passive. It makes him more reliable at ignoring defense. And then also when we look at level 9 furniture, the damage dealt by Sylvan Oath when triggered is increased by 15%, just further increasing those damage capabilities. Eiron has great versatility for team compositions due to the fact that he has high burst damage, but also really nice control and the manipulation of the enemy field with that vortex. In the early game, you can use Eiron as your carry damage dealer, meaning he's leveled above the rest of your heroes, and just put him in a team with things like Leica, Tassie, Nomura, Pippa, Rowan. Any solid early game heroes will support Eiron really well and allow him to do his thing. The good thing about him being an agility based hero is that he does have high levels of dodge, meaning he doesn't have any self-sustain healing, but with the right support he can stay alive. As we move into the later game, there are many teams that you can slot Eiron into and have him as a core member of them. You have burst compositions where you're just using things like Leica to increase the haste, Lawson to link damage, and then Eiron and other bursty units to deal damage really quick to the enemies. We then have something like Thorin Cheese and Lucretia Cheese, which both rely on one hero dealing all the damage to the enemies, but Eiron's Vortex can group the enemies up so that those units can do their solo carries. And then we have him in the front row in Gwyneth teams where he can pull enemies in so that a Gwyneth in the back mid row can be hitting 4 enemies with her arrows, which is really strong as they do have a stun capacity on the arrows. Combining him with something like a Zolrath, if you do have it, is really nice due to Zolrath's furniture, slowing the entry of enemies into the battlefield. The team that I want to take a deep dive into is going to be the 5-pool team. Now there's 2 core members to this team, and that is going to be Eiron, but also Skriath. And Skriath is required to have his 3 furniture, because with his 3 furniture, what it does is at the start of the battle before any other actions take place, it moves the top enemy and the bottom enemy to the middle and squishes them together. Now this allows Eiron to use his Vortex to grab all 5 enemies. Now from this core, you can do a lot of different things. You can use something like Titus, because he's going to fear all the enemies in AoE. You can use something like Gorvo, who's going to jump up in the air and shell shock down on the enemies and stun them. You can also use something like Sophia, who's going to put up her pyramid and reduce the enemy's damage, but also increase your team's damage. There's a lot of different compositions. Anything with an AoE damage or control effect is going to be really viable in this type of team. And it just opens up an enormous amount of possibilities due to these two core units, one being that Eironn to grab the whole enemy team in and CC them. Now that we know what Eironn can do, is he worth investing in? And the simple answer is yes. Signature item and furniture are both fantastic. He's a great hero from early game through to the late game and always holds his relevance. His Vortex is a very signature ability that no other character can draw so many enemies in to one group, and it really gives him a solid position in so many teams. So for signature item, his signature item is just fantastic to get wherever you can. It can be a signature item that you upgrade to 30 as your first level 30 signature item if he is your main damage dealer, because he's going to be your carry, he's going to be doing all the damage, and having that extra 2 seconds of freeze by having him at 30 signature item is really handy. And just getting to mythic and unlocking that signature item, you will notice a big change in the gameplay and how he works. Adding a freeze to his ultimate ability really changes the game and allows him that extra layer of control that he was previously missing. Now for the furniture. An investment of 3 furniture is a real safe point. 9 furniture is really nice. However, you can go ahead and spread out and get a few other characters to 3 furniture before you go on the deep investment to getting Eironn to 9. But in general, the more investment, the better. Be sure to let us know if you enjoy these character analysis videos. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.